Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Teresa, this is Lost My Thread. Today I'm going to talk about everything I sewed in the month of August. If you caught my July makes video, you would know that I spent a lot of that month sewing for other people. So when August came along, I definitely wanted to sew some things for me. I did make one muslin for a jumpsuit that I make for my sister-in-law, but that's just an ongoing project trying to get the fit right for her. But I really did want to do some nice things for myself. When I got back from my trip to the States and I was jet lagged, I wanted to do some really nice sewing just for me. And I thought the easiest project and the most satisfying project would be a simple t-shirt. It's not the simplest t-shirt, but it definitely was exactly what I needed. This is the Itch to Stitch Glenelly top. So it is a raglan sleeve t-shirt. It's made with different bust cup sizes. So I made the full bust cup size. I will put the details down below about the size that I used in my measurement because I feel like it's a little bit more important with these kinds of more fitted silhouettes. Now this one has a slightly more square neckline. I feel like when I wear it, it does probably get a bit more rounded. I think that's the bust pulling it down a little bit. So I think that's just worth bearing in mind and worth mentioning. This fabric is from Minerva. It is an art gallery cotton jersey fabric, which is a really lovely quality cotton jersey. I feel like their cotton jersey is like probably more like what I would expect from like a shop bought t-shirt. It has a little bit more drape to it. It's not super stiff, but it is really nice and soft. And I know that the colors wear well over time. I really do like the style of this t-shirt and I will be making it again. I think next time though, I will just size up everywhere because I feel like it is more fitted and I feel like particularly around the bust, depending on, you know, how much I was shifting around, I was getting some more creases under the arms than I would have liked. Now this full bust cup size is meant to be for someone with a 3 or more inch difference between the high and the full bust. I have a 4-inch difference between my high and a full bust. I certainly expected that it was going to work for me, but it is a little bit tighter just pulling across the bust than I would want. And I will say just overall, I prefer a slightly looser silhouette over the waist and the hip. It's not anything dramatic and I definitely will be wearing this one. The other thing I like about this one is the sleeve. So it's a short raglan sleeve and I feel like raglan sleeves tend to have a bit of an interesting sort of way they fall on your arms. I feel like it has a slight little flick out to it, which I think is really cute, particularly with a short sleeve with this t-shirt. I feel like it's just a really nice, good basic, but it's not too just basic, a little bit different with that neckline. I like the shape of the neckline as well, that I feel like it looks good just as it is, but I feel like it also looks good under overalls. I feel like it's a good balance between being more casual and dressy, so I would happily wear this one to work, but it's also just a very comfy, cozy one to wear. I will say this one was a really satisfying one to put together. The way that neckline comes together with the raglan sleeve, it's really clever, it's really neat, and I feel like you get a really good finish and I am really satisfied with how that one turned out. This is definitely one of these colors that is not my color. It's certainly not in my color palette. Someone did say to me, apparently it's meant to be one of the more universal colors that most people can wear. I didn't order this fabric knowing what the color was because it did look different when I was looking at it on the website when I ordered it, and it was definitely a bit more bold in your face than I was expecting, but I do really like this t-shirt and it's been a lot of fun to wear. Now after finishing just a really good basic easy make, I felt like I wanted to make something a bit more involved, get really stuck into a nice more intense sewing project, and so I made the Jenny overalls by Closet Core Patterns. Both of these two were in my summer sewing plan, so it was nice to get these sewn up. Now I'm going to show pictures because it's going to be a little bit easier to tell what's going on in the pictures, but this fabric I'll just show you up close. It's a really fun stretch denim fabric that I got from Sew Me Sunshine. It is nice to make these in a stretch denim. Now I've made the Jenny overalls before, the trousers version. This is the shorts version, and I feel like the trouser version, they are generally a really good fit. They do hug my curves really well. But I feel like I like a little bit more movement, a little bit more space around the waist in particular, and potentially around the hip if I'm tucking things into it, which you do with overalls. So if I have something that's a little bit bulkier and not as slim fitted, it's a little bit more awkward tucking into my Jenny overalls trousers that's just a standard needle cord fabric. But this one, because it's got that stretch in there, it's just a bit easier to tuck things in. I did just make the size that is meant to be for me. Again, I'll put details down below with the sizes that I chose for these, but I do feel like this one, it's fitted enough to give me really good shape, but it still gives me a good movement and flexibility being the stretch and being potentially a little bit bigger because of the stretch as well. I did do some small adjustments. I did a 1-inch reduction in the length of the bib section because I'd also done a 1-inch rise adjustment at the front. So just to balance things out. I did also do a sway back adjustment, and I got a bit carried away because I had actually done a 1-inch sway back adjustment on my Jenny shorts that I've made previously with this pattern. And I forgot that I'd done that. And I just knew that that one needed a bit more taken out, so I decided I was going to do a 2-inch adjustment this time. Took 2 inches out, but I'd already taken 1 inch out, so it ended up being a 3-inch adjustment, which is definitely a bit too low. So I think you can see at the back that the waistband is certainly not sitting as flat. I think it's just because the body underneath that waistband is too short and it's just pulling it down. I think I could take a little wedge out of the top of the waistband at the back if I wanted to get it to sit a bit more flat. But to be honest, I think it's good enough. I don't think it bothers me. We'll see when it comes to next summer and I'm wearing it again. If it bothers me, I might adjust it. But I think these are super cute. So this fabric came from Sew Me Sunshine. It was something that I didn't necessarily go out looking for, but I knew I wanted to make these overalls as shorts for a really cute summer pair. And I wanted something multi-toned, multicolored. Now I will say my expectation was maybe something geometric, but more likely something floral. But I saw this fabric and it was just so unique and so cute. I thought, actually, I think this would make a really cool pair of Jenny overalls. I was chatting with the owner, Harriet at Sew Me Sunshine, and she said to me she thought that they would be perfect for those. She took a picture of me with this fabric against my skin so I could see. I felt like, again, these colors are not my typical colors, but I think having the white base and lots of color in there, I feel like it works really well. And I think it's just a really fun pair of overalls. I think the fit, like I said, is really good both at the front and the back. There are some darts at the back to give some really good shaping going into the waist. These have a slash hip pocket, so they're really nice, good roomy pockets as well. I chose to do a nude colored lining for the pockets just because I was a bit worried that if I used anything more bold, it was going to be more visible against the white fabric. In the end, I think it's probably fine because I don't feel like you can see my clothes through it, but I just felt like I could be a little bit more cautious in doing that. This also has some patch pockets. I will say the patch pockets designed for this are quite big to me. I don't feel like they're the best size and shape for my bum. And I actually did size down the pocket since my previous version, and I made the smallest size that there is in this pattern. I cut out that size pocket and it's a little bit better, but I still feel like they would probably suit my body shape being a bit smaller. On the whole though, I do think these are so much fun. There is a lapped side zip, which makes this really easy to get on and off. There's a crisscross at the back. I'm sure you would have seen when you've seen back pictures that just go over to the straps at the front. It was a fun project because of all those little extra things. So putting in like the buckles, the hardware, to put the straps in, putting the zipper in with a snap. I decided to close it with a snap. I felt like that would just balance well and be easy on and off when I'm going to the bathroom. I will say one thing that I didn't do, it was an optional extra, is the straps. She does say that if you want to double them up, if your fabric is a bit thinner, then you can do that. And I did do that on my previous version. I actually lined them with a contrasting fabric on my previous version. But this time I felt like I don't want to be too fussy. I'm sure if I just fold the edges over and over again, it will be absolutely fine. Now, I think the finish looks fine. I don't think it's a problem. Again, it's on the inside, so you're never really going to see it, but I think it looks good. But I will say it's a little bit flimsy, and when you're trying to pull the straps over and stop them from twisting, the fact that this can then kind of bunch up does just make it a little bit more awkward to get it to sit just how you want it. It's not going to stop me by wearing these by any means, but I do feel like that would just make it a little bit easier when I'm taking them on and off. So I would say I would probably always just double up the straps so that you've got two sides going together, and even interface one of them, which is what I did in my previous version, just to allow them to sit a little bit flatter more easily without faffing too much around to trying to pull them over your shoulders and strap them on. I didn't fuss too much with the pattern matching on these in general. I just wanted the horizontal lines to be the same from the front and at the back, just because I felt like that would be a lot more obviously different if I didn't do that part. And I will say the pockets, I tried a little bit harder to get those hip pockets to really line up so that the pocket lining underneath would look the same as the pocket on the front. And they did look great when they were laid out flat, but when I'm wearing them and the fabric stretches, the pocket stretches a little bit more than the front section, apparently, and I can see that that's pulling a little bit and not sitting quite lined up. I don't care, but I just felt like I would tell you guys that because I want to tell you guys all the things that go well and don't go well on a project. I also opted to not put a pocket on the front bib section. I did on my previous version. I will say pockets here on the front of your bib are purely decorative. You're not going to be putting anything in there. It's such an awkward place to try and use a pocket. And I felt like with this busy print, I didn't really think you were going to notice it. I don't miss it. I think they look really cute without, and I feel really happy with generally all of the design choices I've made as far as lining up the stripes or not lining up the stripes. I am on the whole really happy with the shape and the fit of these overalls. I like the length of the shorts as well. Now obviously we're coming to the end of the summer. It is not the best time to be making shorts. I fully appreciate I'm kind of beyond the shorts weather at this point. But I did make these at the beginning of August and I did wear them a couple of times and it was a lot of fun to wear them. I'm sure they will be something that I will be enjoying for summers to come though, so I'm not so worried if I'm a little bit late for this season. Now, I don't quite remember where my headspace was, but I know that for sure when I finished those overalls, it seemed to me for some reason like the perfect time to get some little alteration jobs in. I worked on a lot of things in Me Made May, trying to look at Me Made garments that need a little bit of work to make them more wearable. And since then, I've just been a lot more conscious of small things in my wardrobe that aren't quite right. Or I've been noticing what I haven't been wearing and thinking about what I can do to get them back in my regular rotation in my wardrobe. And so I have a few things I made some small adjustments on, nothing major, but I thought I would just talk through what those were. So one is this dress. This is the Maya Sotis dress by Deer & Doe. This has been a big staple in my summer wardrobe. I have loved making or wearing this dress since I added an extra tier during Me Made May. But the one thing that always bugged me with these or this dress were the pockets. This dress comes with pockets, which is always delightful, but they're small pockets to start with. But more importantly, where they sit on the hip, there's not enough of a dip underneath the pocket for you to put anything inside without it just falling out of the pocket again. It was driving me absolutely nuts. They felt like useless pockets because like my phone, for example, I put it in there and then it would just be angling out all the time. So what I decided to do was just to extend the bottom of the pocket a little bit higher up along the side seam because these are inseam pockets, side seam pockets. And now things sit in there much more easily. Really small adjustment. I just did a little hand stitch to bring that up a little bit further up from where that pocket ended, but I will remember that for future versions of this dress. And I think I'm just going to use a different pocket from another dress that I feel like is a bit more roomy and gives me a little bit more space at the bottom of the pocket in particular. That fabric came from Merchant & Mills. It's a really gorgeous Indian block print fabric. The next one I worked on was this dress. This is the NYX dress by Closet Core Patterns, and I made this in a really incredible Zara viscose twill fabric I got from Sew Me Sunshine. It was the neckline really with this one that I felt like, because this is quite a heavy fabric, viscose twill is a heavy fabric, it kept pulling down and it would start off okay, but as the day was going on, it was just being a little bit lower and lower to the point where I wasn't feeling comfortable wearing it. Certainly didn't want to be leaning forward in it. Now this front section, you do a button with a rouleau loop to close it up, and you actually do a slip stitch to close this shut, well, it's an optional slip stitch, which I did just to make sure that there's no gaping. And so all I did was I just extended the slip stitch just to be a little bit higher up. And now it's sitting at a much better place. I feel much happier and I know that I'm going to be much more inclined to wear it. I also did some work on the neckline of this dress. This is the Hana Dress by Pattern Scout. This was actually a refashion that I did in Me Made May, but I was never really happy with how the neckline sat. This fabric came from the Fabric Godmother. It's called a shot linen fabric. It's so beautiful. It is red and white on the warp and the weft, which creates a really beautiful just overall pink look. But depending on how the light hits it, it can definitely pick up more of that red. It has almost a bit of a shimmer to it when it moves, which I think is probably not coming across in camera or on camera, but honestly, it is really stunning linen fabric. And the dress, when I made it initially, I didn't do a muslin of this one, and on future versions I would definitely pinch a bit out of this neckline and just ease that out into the dart, but I made it as it was designed, and I've been finding that's a common adjustment I need to make, just sort of taking out a little bit of this front bust area, but I didn't do, and as a result this one just never really sat that flat. It was a little bit gapey. It was just a little bit, I don't know, it just didn't feel like a slick finish, and it was just putting me off from wearing it. Now I watched a video from Jenny from Cashmerette. It's one of the Cashmerette Club videos that she made about fixing a gaping neckline. Depending on the gaping neckline, there's different ways you can adjust, but once you've made the garment, you are a little bit more limited if you don't want to add a dart in here, which I didn't really want to do. And a bit of a cheater method that she gave, it's not perfect, but it can help a little bit, is just to unpick the shoulder seam and lift up the front of the center, sort of evening it out. Now, and this is going to look a lot more exaggerated because I've already done this adjustment, but I lifted the front section up to that shoulder seam just at the center of the bust, and then I went out to where it was naturally, that seam was coming together at the edge of the shoulder there, the outer edge of the shoulder. I'm sure she explains this way better than me. It's kind of like the opposite of a forward shoulder adjustment, because with a forward shoulder adjustment, you'd be bringing that bit forward. Yeah, I lost confidence there. But basically this came up a little bit, and as a result this line is a bit shorter. Now I could only do so much because the dress was already made up, but let me tell you guys, I am so much happier with how this is sitting now. I will actually wear this dress now. Minor adjustment, didn't take too much work, but it really is just so much more wearable. I'm also curious to try this as more of a pinafore style dress into the autumn and winter months. I think that could be really cute. And again, I'm just feeling so much happier now that it's sitting a bit more flush against my skin. The last alteration I made were for these Jude jeans by Closet Core Patterns. These are jeans that are meant to be very vintagey style, very 70s. They have a massive flare bell bottom at the bottom, which is just so much fun. I really do love these trousers. They're in a stretch twill that I got from Minerva. They are super duper comfortable. I love the fit on me. I feel like they're absolutely perfect. The only thing is that they were a bit too long. I did actually shorten these a bit during Me Made May, and I did not really shorten them enough. I was worried to go too far because I did not want flared floods. That just doesn't make any sense to me. And so I was a bit cautious, I think, on how much I took off the bottom. But I noticed with these, if I had a thicker sole on a shoe, I was okay. But if I was wearing flip-flops, or even if it was just a bit of a rainy day, I was a bit worried about them slipping down and just getting a bit wet and dirty. And I want to wear these for years to come. I don't want to destroy the bottom of my bell bottoms. And so it's something that I've just been meaning to do for a while, and I finally got my butt in gear. I was holding off wearing these because I didn't want to accidentally destroy the hems. And so I did finally take, it was a whole nother inch that I ended up taking off. And I will say it was more of a faff for sure, because there is quite a thick facing on the inside of these, which is the cuff at the bottom. I like the effect of it, and it's a really nice, neat finish, but it did just mean that I had to unpick the whole of this facing as well as the stitch that comes together here, and then I had to narrow the facing piece as well as shortening the trouser before putting it all back together. I say it was a whole faff. I don't know, it probably took me about 20 minutes in total, but in my mind it was just this impassable thing that I couldn't get past. But I did do it, and I think it is absolutely perfect that I finished them now, because I think this color and this style will be so good coming into the autumn and the winter. And so I'm glad that I've now got these. I can be wearing them, but I totally think I'm going to be wearing these year round because they are just such fun trousers. After finishing a load of alterations, I really did just want to get some project finish from start to finish. And the one that I went for was this one. This is the Anthea Blouse by Anna Allen, a pattern that I have had my eye on and I have been curious about for such a long time. It's a beautiful button-up blouse pattern with some quite statement sleeves. I will say these are not the typical sleeves, though they are definitely very statement. This is actually a hack that Anna Allen has posted on a blog on her website, and so you can do the same hack yourself if you're interested. The things that really drew me to the hack version is the neckline is lower. So the Anthea blouse is meant to sit very high on the neck. And honestly, that is what has been putting me off that pattern. It's made me think this is not one for me. I really don't think I would like it with the neckline how it's meant to sit, but you can actually download it's a free neckline piece to make it just this height, which is absolutely perfect for me, exactly where I want my neckline to sit for this blouse. I also didn't do the full hack, so she has a collar that you can add, which is a cute detail, but just not something that I particularly wanted for mine. But the other thing for the hack is to make these amazing sleeves. I have to say these sleeves have been bringing me so much joy. The top of the sleeve is exactly the same, and it does have a really wonderful poof going all around it, but the hacked version shortens it a bit and adds this really cute shirred detail. So there's 3 rows of shirring elastic here, which gives that little gather there. It was really easy to put together, I have to say, a very easy hack to do if you're not familiar with shirring. I will say I have made a video with just some like basics of how to shirr if you haven't done it before, including some top tips that I've worked out with my experience. I will put a link to it up here because honestly guys, I went into that video to remind myself of what stitch length I like to use on my sewing machine. So even I was watching my own tutorial and I was like, this is really good. I was really impressed with my shots. I feel like I made it all really clear and I hope that it's been helpful for a lot of you guys. It's definitely one of my most viewed videos and I've had really positive feedback. So if you are curious about shirring, unsure about shirring, or just want some tips, do check that video out. I'll also put a link down in the description box. Apart from tooting my own trumpet about my shirring video, main thing I wanted to say is just this is such a fun blouse to wear. I really do love these statement sleeves. This fabric I think was a really good choice for it. So this is a washed cotton fabric that I got from Sew Me Sunshine in a sage green. I love the color. I've been getting super into green lately. I don't know why it's been absent in my wardrobe, but I feel like I'm making up for lost time with green these days. I love the color. It goes with so many things that I already have in my wardrobe. What I love about this style with this little kind of poofy statement sleeve is I feel like it changes an outfit is what I'm trying to say. I feel like it makes something a little bit more dressy, a little bit more cute, and I really do love the look. So I've been putting this with skirts, with trousers, under overalls. I feel like it works so well with so many different things. And I feel like this fabric being a little bit thicker gives it a bit more structure to the poof. You could do it with a viscose or with like a cotton lawn fabric and it would just be a little bit less poofy, but I'm all here for the poof. That is kind of what appealed to me about this whole look. Now this blouse does not have any darts at all, and I did a minor, I want to say like a kind of cheater full bust adjustment where I basically just added some length to the front of the bodice. I added 1.5 inches because looking at other blouses that I've made when I haven't made a full bust adjustment, I've noticed that that's how much it tends to rise for me. So, I mean, it's probably going to be some science into working out how much length you might need to add if you want to do a cheater FBA, but that was what worked for me. That's as much as I can say. And in general, my full bust and high bust, I should have done like a 2-inch full bust adjustment, and that was the adjustment that worked for me. I do feel like it fits pretty well in general around the body. I did size down 1 size compared to my high bust measurement. Again, I'll put all the details down below the sizes that I made for these patterns. And I feel like that was good for me. It is meant to be quite a roomy top, but I didn't want it to be too oversized. I feel like the shoulders are hitting at the perfect point. If I made this again, I would make the exact same size. And I do have more of these planned because it is just such a fun blouse to wear. It's something where whenever I sneak a peek of myself in a mirror or in like a window of a shop or a car window and I see these sleeves, it gives me such a smile, guys. Honestly, this is a really joyful blouse for me to wear. I really do love it. This, I would say, is a pretty good length as well. It tucks in really well, but I feel like the shape of the hem makes it a good one just to wear over the top of things. So there has a bit of a curve going in at the hip, it curves down at the front, and it curves down at the back. Really beautiful blouse. I know so many people love it, and now I feel like with this neckline in particular, I want to get more and more into my own wardrobe as well, with the standard sleeve as much as with this little fun puff sleeve. I think both versions are really beautiful, and it was definitely a really nice project and one that I've been absolutely loving wearing since I've made it. Now, sitting behind me here, I have some works in progress, and I feel like I do want to share them because I'm pretty far into these as works in progress. Sometimes it's just stuff I've cut out, but this one these two I'm well in the process of. I haven't done any knitting, well, very much knitting this month, so if you guys are interested in my knitting journey, watch this space, there'll be more knitting to come. But the reason that I haven't is because I've been working on some hand sewing, and hand sewing has kind of replaced, well, the hand sewing time is when I would usually be doing my knitting. So when I'm sitting and relaxing with my husband in the evening. And what I've been working on is this blouse. Now, I know this is a very awkward one to try and show you guys just as it is. This is the Selwyn top by Cashmerette. It's one of the Cashmerette Club patterns, and I have done quite a good progress on it, quite a lot. So I've done pin tucks going along the front. I've done the side seams. This has princess seams both at the front and at the back, so that's all joined together with this really cute gathered flounce that goes over the outside of the sleeve. So I've done that on both sides. Now, if I haven't made it extremely clear, this is all entirely sewn by hand. So everything I have done by hand. The pin tucks I've done by hand. The edge of this little flounce here, I had to put 3 different rows of stitches to get this flounce into this princess seam. So I basted the gather onto the flounce. I then stitched the flounce onto one of these pieces and then stitched both of these onto the other, all with French seams on the inside. So guys, there's been a whole lot of stitching going on this top. It's been taking time and I've been really enjoying the process. The hand sewing element is definitely something that I will absolutely do again. I do want to hand sew a garment again. I love that it looks generally really pretty neat and like a normal top from a distance, but if you get up close, you can really see the stitching. You can see my hand in the stitching, which I love. I think to me that is just so special. It reminds me of when I see things like, say, historical pieces, when you can see the hand sewing that's gone on. And to me, it makes me feel a little bit closer to the maker. And I love the idea of having something that I'll be able to look at and actually see my own stitches going throughout it. I don't have a ton left to do on this, but what I do have left is probably going to take a fair bit of time. So there's a binding that needs to go around the armhole. There's also a small collar that needs to go around the top, as well as a button band that goes on the front, as well as hand-bound buttonholes and hand-sewed buttons. So I don't think this is something I'm going to be finishing within September, but I am really happy with the progress that I've made in August. This fabric, by the way, is a stunning Liberty Tonalon fabric that I got from John Lewis. It's beautiful fabric to look at, it's beautiful fabric to work with, and I think this will be a really nice one to wear with so many different things in my wardrobe, so many different colors on there, and it's just such a happy fabric. Now that one has very much been going on in the background here and there, but when I've had more sewing time recently, I've also been working on a dress. So the dress that I'm working on is a repeat for me. It's the Matilda dress by Megan Nielsen patterns that I've made before in a really wonderful linen from Merchant and Mills. Now this one is, I'll try and show you the different pieces because there's a fair amount of progress on this one. I have basically made a skirt. So I've completed the skirt apart from the button band on this one. It's got a really cute pocket detail, really nice roomy pockets on this one as well, which has been really nice. I should say it's really nice on my previous versions. I have pinned together the yoke pieces, both the inside and the outside yoke pieces. I have stitched together the back section. I wasn't sure whether to do top stitching on this fabric because you can do optional top stitching going along the princess seams because this one has princess seams at the front and the back as well. And I found this really nice blue thread that I felt like popped in a really cool way, and it goes really well with this fabric. So I'm glad that I've done the top stitching details on there. And then I've also done the front bodice pieces. I've stitched them together and I've done the princess seams and I've pinned on my pockets that I need to stitch into place. So there's the bottom section of the pocket and then this pocket flap will then get stitched on and folded over when it's all in place where it needs to go. Good progress on this one. I still have a fair way to go, but I feel like I've probably gotten more than halfway. So this one needs button band going down the front, the top and the bodice, or the bodice and the skirt need to be attached. The yoke needs to go in, there's a collar to go in, and I'm doing the version with sleeves that need to go in as well. This is another one of those projects that I would say is a little bit more involved. There were a whole lot of pieces involved in cutting out, and that did put me off, just the cutting out process. But I really enjoy that kind of project to sew, and I feel like it comes together in such a satisfying way. It will be very exciting to get that one sewn up, and I feel like I am going to absolutely love wearing this one, certainly in the autumn, but I am very much also going to be wearing it next spring and next summer as well. I hope it was fun and a little inspiring to hear what I got up to in the month of August. I would love to hear any projects that you guys have worked on, and tell me if you have been doing any small alterations. I feel like that's something that I need to kind of give myself a pat on the back about, and I want to praise you guys as well if you're doing them, because they're not always the most exciting jobs, but they can be some of the most satisfying ones, and they can really turn something from being something you're just shying away from to something that you're wearing all the time. Please do give me a like if you enjoyed my video today. Make sure you are subscribed to my channel if you want to see future videos, and I will see all of you very soon. Bye!